why she visited this grave. Every Sunday for 30 years. Every Sunday morning she appeared at Hillcrest Cemetery, always dressed in black, always carrying white chrysanthemums. For 30 years the small town watched her. She would sit silently by a simple grave for exactly 30 minutes, never speaking to anyone. Then she would disappear until the next Sunday. The townspeople called her the Black Widow. No one knew her story. No one knew her name, until the old gravedigger finally revealed the truth. This is the story of a promise that lasted a lifetime. Hillcrest was the kind of town where everyone knew everyone. Main Street had one traffic light. The same families had lived there for generations. Rosie's Diner served the same apple pie for 50 years. People noticed strangers immediately, and the woman in black was definitely a stranger. She never stopped for coffee after her cemetery visits. She never chatted with the locals at the grocery store. Children would watch her from a distance, curious and a little afraid. "Who is she?" they would ask their parents. "Just a lonely old woman," adults would answer, but they were curious too. Some said she was a ghost. Others thought she was crazy with grief. The more romantic souls believed she was waiting for someone. They were closer to the truth than they knew. Bill Thompson had been Hillcrest's gravedigger for over 40 years. His father had the job before him. His grandfather before that. Bill knew every stone, every plot, every story in that cemetery. He was the only one who ever saw the woman up close. The first time she appeared was spring of 1975. Bill was planting flowers near the old military section. She walked right past him without a word. He almost spoke to her that day, but something in her eyes stopped him cold. They held a sadness so deep it seemed bottomless. So instead, he just nodded respectfully and kept working. Over the years, he noticed her routine never changed. She always visited the same grave. A simple stone marked only James, 1943, one of many unnamed soldier graves from the war. She would place her flowers at the exact same angle. Sometimes she would touch the headstone gently, like she was caressing a loved one's face. Bill sometimes heard her whisper, "I'm still here, James. I'm still waiting." In the fall of 1998, Bill was cleaning the cemetery's old storage shed. The place was full of dusty records and forgotten mementos. He found a cracked leather ledger in the bottom drawer. The pages were yellow and brittle with age. Bill carefully turned each page, reading the old entries, and then he saw it. James R. Holloway, age 19, Sergeant, 101st Airborne Division. Killed in action, Normandy, 1943. No known family. There was a small note in the margin. Photo of young woman found in pocket. Name Eleanor written on back. Bill looked out the window toward the cemetery. The woman in black was placing her flowers on the grave. "Eleanor," he whispered to himself. "So that's her name." Bill began paying more attention to Eleanor's visits. He noticed how her hands trembled slightly as she aged, how she walked more slowly each passing year. But she never missed a Sunday, not even during the blizzard of 87, not during the flood of 93. One day, Bill found the courage to speak to her. "Beautiful flowers," he said gently. She looked startled, as if waking from a dream. Then she smiled, a small, sad smile. "They were his favorite," she replied. That brief exchange opened a door. Over the next few years, Eleanor shared pieces of her story. She had been a nurse during the war. She met James at a field hospital in England in 1942. They fell in love in just 43 days. Not enough time, she told Bill once, but enough to know it was forever. James was sent to the front lines. Eleanor received only 3 letters from him. Then the telegrams stopped coming. After the war, she searched for information about James. Records were scattered and incomplete back then. It took her 15 years to discover he was buried in Hillcrest, his hometown. She moved there immediately, bought a small house on Maple Street, took a job at the local library, and began her Sunday ritual. "I promised I'd wait for him to come home," she said, "and I'm still waiting." In the winter of 2005, Eleanor stopped coming to the cemetery. Bill noticed her absence immediately. After 3 Sundays, he went to check on her. Her small house was quiet, curtains drawn. A neighbor told him Eleanor had passed away in her sleep. She was 83 years old. Bill felt a strange obligation to this woman he barely knew. He went to her house with the funeral director. On her bedside table sat a small wooden box. It had a note attached, "For the cemetery caretaker." Inside was an old photograph, a young couple. He in military uniform, she in nurse's whites, both smiling, full of hope and youth. There was also a letter, written in careful handwriting. "My name is Eleanor Winters, James Holloway's fiancée. We became engaged before he left for war. I searched for him for many years. When I found him, I promised to visit every week, until we could be together again. I never loved another. By the time you read this, I will be with him at last. Please bury me beside James, with this ring on my finger." The box contained a simple silver ring. Engraved inside were the words, "J&E, wait for me, I'll find you." Bill sat in Eleanor's quiet house, holding the photograph. 2 young people in love, frozen in time. Before war tore them apart, before decades of faithful waiting. He wiped tears from his eyes. Some stories hit harder than others. Bill made sure Eleanor's wishes were honored. The town council approved her burial beside James, even though it wasn't technically allowed in that section. Some rules matter less than love. Eleanor was laid to rest with her silver ring, right next to the man she had waited for. Bill told Eleanor's story to a few close friends. Word spread quickly through Hillcrest. People were moved by her decades of devotion. They stopped calling her the Black Widow. Now they called her the Faithful Heart. The local newspaper ran a small article about her. Former library patrons remembered her quiet dignity. The florist recalled her weekly chrysanthemum purchases. She never haggled over the price, she said. Even when flowers got expensive in winter, every Sunday someone from town began leaving white chrysanthemums. Sometimes it was Bill, sometimes the florist, sometimes complete strangers who heard the story. Bill had a proper headstone made for both of them, James and Eleanor Holloway, separated by war, reunited in eternity. Love never waits in vain. Years later, Bill retired from his job at the cemetery, but he still visits James and Eleanor's grave. He tells new visitors their story when they ask. Some love stories are written in grand gestures, others in quiet, faithful devotion. Eleanor waited 30 years to be reunited with James. She never gave up. She never forgot. She kept her promise in our fast-paced world of instant connections, of swiping right and moving on. There's something powerful about such unwavering commitment. Sometimes on early spring mornings at Hillcrest Cemetery, visitors swear they see a young couple walking hand in hand, a soldier and his nurse. They appear briefly between the gravestones, then fade into the morning light. Perhaps some promises really do transcend death. Perhaps some love stories never truly end. And perhaps if you're very lucky in this life, You'll find someone who would wait 30 years for you, someone who keeps their promises, even when the world has forgotten, even when hope seems lost, someone who knows that true love is always worth the wait.